Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast. And welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
I don't have much to say to preface this story. You can believe it or not. This is just how events unfolded for me. Work a nurse job for a wildlife rehab center. My job is to just clean out cages, fill food bowls, occasionally watch over and let the more unreleasable animals play around, etc. We've been getting a shocking amount of opossums turning up severely wounded, to the point we've had to start euthanizing some because we were simply too understaffed to help them. Opossums show up all the time at the center. It's not too weird for an animal who reacts to any and all danger by freezing in place and falling over. Usually injuries are broken bones or consistent with getting hit by cars. These injuries are much different. They're missing patches of fur with holes the size of quarters carved into their flesh about 2 to 3 inches deep. Something about it made even the experienced veterinarians at the rehab center feel sick seeing it, but we tried to patch up as many as we could. According to one of the vets, they were also missing a shit ton of blood. Most were barely even able to still limp. I get assigned one of the opossums who hasn't been injured as bad, only has one of the holes near its stomach. Doc's already got it patched up. My job is to just watch over it and help it get back on its feet. It needs special attention due to the blood loss. Skip ahead 2 or 3 days. We're still getting more and more opossums with these injuries. The owner of the rehab center decides to contact the local game wardens about this. We're suspecting animal cruelty at this point, and they take notes and decide to start going on the lookout for whatever's causing this. The opossum I got assigned. I called him Grapes because that seemed to be his favorite food. Has healed quite well, and most of the opossums are in a good state to be released back into the wild. Skip ahead another few days. We release them all back into the wild and let them assimilate back into nature. Next day, after we return the opossums to their natural habitat, someone shows up at the rehab center with this giant blue plastic tub. I was one of the people near the front desk at this time, so I got to watch this all go down. He was real shaken up and explained to the girl who worked the front desk he was one of the people who brought in a few of the first opossums we accepted because he knew these injuries had to have been done deliberately and it sickened him. She asks what's in the tub. He takes a deep breath and opens it and shows it to her. I was standing behind her in the doorway, not too far from the guy. The scent hit me first and I nearly buckled. For my estimate, every single opossum we had released was in that tub. Horrifically mangled, but all left alive. There was a bit of a panic as we tried to get the most injured ones the care they needed, but most ended up dying. The messed up part of this story, the reason I'm telling this in the first place, is that we found, during some of the surgeries, chunks of metal embedded into the opossum's flesh right under their pelts. Shit stopped after this, but there's still absolutely zero lead on what caused this.
This happened in Mexico back in the 50s or 60s, as told by my grandparents that migrated from there. One summer night, the small pueblo was plagued by strange lights in the sky. People reported seeing colorful, glowing orbs floating above their homes. No one could explain what they were or where they came from. As the nights went on, the lights grew closer and closer, until they were directly over the town. People started to panic, as the lights seemed to be getting brighter and more intense. Suddenly, the lights started to move toward the ground, as if they were descending toward the town. People ran for cover, hiding in their homes and praying that the lights wouldn't find them. But no matter where they hid, the lights seemed to follow, shining brighter and brighter through the windows. Then, as suddenly as they appeared, the lights vanished, leaving the town in darkness once more. But the town was never the same after that night. People reported strange disappearances, and strange noises echoed through the streets. And even to this day, no one knows what those lights in the sky truly were. Some say UFOs. Some say angels. Some say they were brujas.
At this house party for some rich old pastor, I showed up because my family wants to go. Pastor talks with everyone, says one of his friends helped him set everything up, as in just the one guy who did everything himself. Everyone has a different description of him. Some people say he's a tall old man, some say he's just a kid. I don't know or care until I see him. It was an entrance I'll never forget. I looked out across the lake and there's something in the water coming towards the shore. I'm thinking a duck or a turtle. No, it's the guy's hat, and here he comes walking up out of the water like it was nothing, wearing a huge black coat and a huge black hat. No one notices him come but me. But suddenly he's here, and I can't stop noticing him everywhere, mainly being talked to by old people, like really old people, but he himself never talks. He looks young until you look at him, and then he looks old, then young again, really hard to put an age on him. Sometimes it looked like half his face was young and the other half was old. While anyone is talking to him, they're completely enamored by him, but when he's gone, it's like they forget all about him. Finally get close to him while everyone is getting together to say goodbye, and finally I hear him talk. His voice is both wrong and spectacular in every way possible. He has a strong accent I have never been able to place, something like Dracula or German. It's so deep I can only listen to the sound, and totally miss whatever it was he was saying. But then it's time to go, and I wait to see how he leaves. He goes off by himself unnoticed and walks into the tree line, nothing out there but underbrush and woods, and that's where he disappears. People barely remember he was there, can't describe him very well, and no one knows anything definite about him.
Me, 16. At a get-together with friends, about 10:30 p.m. I can't get alcohol, it's getting late and I'm bored. Say goodbye and start walking home. Can stick to the street and take the really long way home, or take the 10-minute walk through the woods. Whatever. Walk across a big playing field and get closer and closer to the tree line into the woods. Having second thoughts. Just do it, don't be a coward. Start walking inside. So dark and quiet. The only reason I know where to walk is because I've been here before. I can't hear anything but sticks under my feet and my heartbeat in my throat. 2 minutes in and it's not so bad. I can't see anything in front of me though, just the outer edges of my vision. Out of nowhere. Nearby I can hear what sounds like 3 people mumbling all at the same time, and then it just stops. Start walking slower to make less noise. Ball my hands up and put them in my coat pockets. Hold my breath and narrow my eyes because I don't want to accidentally see anything. Now I'm scared. Up ahead I hear something similar, but deeper. That's the way I need to go. I step off of the track and stand behind a tree to wait. Stay dead silent and keep my eyes closed. After the longest minute of my life, something falls out of a tree on the opposite side of the track and thuds the ground so hard I felt the dirt shake. Nah. Run back the way I came, like an athlete. Get to the field and keep running until I'm under a street light. Told my dad and he said that there were groups of homeless living in the woods. He saw tents when he was walking the dog. I didn't think it was homeless.
Be my dad as a kid, mid-1950s, rural Canada. Dad's neighbor is hauling hay on a wagon, gets my dad to sit on top to keep the hay from falling off. Dad falls off the wagon and a pitchfork on the ground punctures his skull. Dad is rushed home, the doctor arrives and says it doesn't look good. Dad describes how for weeks after he would wake up in the middle of the night with blood pulsing out of his nose. The entire family thinks he's going to die soon. One night he wakes up and sees 2 figures outside his bedroom window with glowing yellow/amber eyes watching him. The next moment they are in the room with him at the foot of his bed. Dad says they didn't move, but he felt as though they were going into his head. They disappear. Nosebleeds never come back after that night. Dad is convinced ever since that aliens are real and that they saved his life. It's worth noting that my dad is very skeptical of anything paranormal, but he's 100% convinced that aliens exist because of this incident.
Be me. 2 years ago. Live in Labrador, which is one of the most remote, unpopulated Innawoods parts of North America. An area larger than Germany but with less than 30,000 people living in it. Hit devastating news that my grandmother passed away and was really close to her. Can't fly to Newfoundland for her funeral because unvaxxed. Have to drive out by myself on the 2,000-kilometer, 1,250 miles journey across the Trans-Labrador Highway. One of the most remote, rarely traveled major roads in North America. Not shitting you, it's so remote you'd probably be the only human being within 100 kilometers, 60 miles for most of the journey, and you could go hours without seeing another car. Roughly 2 a.m. in the morning. Can barely keep my eyes open, promising myself I'll stop and sleep at the nearest truck stop. Which up here are just tiny little pullovers, no buildings or lights or signs or anything. Pull into the next one, on the edge of a steep decline with a small stream at the bottom. Notice there's a motorcycle parked there, standing up with not a single person in sight. The owner's probably camping in the woods, don't care. Naturally paranoid anyway, so sleep with my doors locked and windows covered. Wake up around 10 in the morning. Motorcycle still there, still no sign of anybody. Step outside to take a piss and get a better look over the decline at the stream in the daylight. There's a full pair of clothes and a motorcycle helmet just scattered all over the edge of the stream in a helmet. A cooler that's been opened and flung around with its contents. Drinks and food tossed around. Curiosity gets the better of me and I carefully scale down the steep decline and look around. The stream passes under the road through a culvert which is only just a few feet from this scene. Smell a rusty, metallic stench coming from the culvert. Already uneasy from reading Greentexts. I have no plans to enter the culvert, but curiosity gets the best of me. I'm just going to go by the entrance, whip out my phone flashlight and peek inside, nothing more. The sound of the stream in the metal culvert is echoing and reverberating really loud as I approach. Fully expecting to see a dead body in there, probably the motorcyclist who fell in. Get to the entrance. Shine my light in. I shit you not. I shit you not. Standing in there hunched over was this thing that looked like a cross between a bear and gorilla, with a distinct humanoid shape, with its mouth wide open, its canines and eyes shining from the light of my flashlight reflecting on it. Nope times 4. Stumble backwards away from the culvert and nearly fall over. Clamber up the steep incline on all fours. I can hear the frantic sloshing of the thing in the culvert like it's fighting against the current trying to get to me. Get back into the car. Speed off. Inform the police in the next town along the way about the motorcycle and a messed up campsite and potential missing person, and describe as best as I could the creature I saw in that culvert. The police say they'll investigate it, but I never really got any closure myself since I continued my drive to my grandmother's funeral immediately after that.
This all took place a few years ago, at an old manor house which has been converted into a hotel, which if I recall correctly is called Coombe Abbey in the UK. Be me, 19 years old lad. Get to the hotel and the receptionist says they have overbooked. Say we can have a refund and will let us use the old disabled room. Forced to share a room with younger 16-year-old sister. Don't worry X, this isn't B. We both walk down a dimly lit red corridor to our room. Room looks like no one has been in there for 20 years, old 70s decor etc. I go into the room first and throw my bag onto one of the beds, while my sister shuts the door. As soon as the door shuts, the old TV whines and turns itself on. We both look at each other, then back to the TV. TV begins playing a creepy weather report from what I can only assume was from the 70s. Screw this, I said while looking for the cable to the TV. I spotted the plug in the corner of the room below a small window. I bent down and yanked the plug from the wall. TV turned off. While standing up, I happened to look out of the small window. It was a misty but well-lit evening, and the window gave a good view of the courtyard, the drive up to the hotel and the surrounding moat. A shadow caught my eye when looking down at the moat. What I can only describe as two black bony limbs claw their way out of the water. Call sister over to come look. We both stand there frozen in fear as a disheveled, black, creature drags itself out of the water. Now in full view on the water's bank, a creature I can only describe as the love child of SCP-96 and SCP-682 begins sprinting off into the distance. Without even saying a word, we both grabbed our shit and left, running back down the corridor. Spent the night sleeping in the well-lit bar, regardless of the angry staff. Left the following morning and no one believed us. My sister now freaks out and refuses to speak about it when I bring it up.
Be me. Go to a friend's ranch for Innawoods fun. Set up multiple cams around the campsite. Put one watching feeder. First and second night, no deer, no hogs. Uneventful but still having fun. Third day, check cams around camp. We ain't found shit. MP4. Check the feeder cam even though I haven't seen any tracks. What in the blue blazes. PNG. Pull pick off security camera and walk back to camp to show buddy. Completely stumped? Looks like a coyote? Not a coyote. Go down to the feeder with buddy and stand in roughly the same spot/distance from cam. Line up perspective as best we can. Thing has to be 3 feet at the shoulder, maybe 4.75 feet length, definitely not a regular coyote. Throw down a few heaping cups of dog food, retreat for the day, we'll check cams in a couple days. First night goes by, uneventful, boring, probably leaving tomorrow morning. Whole day nothing, finally crack open whiskey since nothing. Make fire and go to bed. Just before dawn, hear wild huffing and galloping hooves, coming straight for Camp Batten the Hatches. WebM. Buddy is up and out before me, the hell? Scramble out of the tent finally, the deer scrambles to halt just outside camp and turns around to look down the hill. Follow deer's gaze, crazy coyote is maybe 60 yards away, eyeballing the three of us. Deer is using us as cover, bro you're not with us. Raise up the revolver and pop off 2 rounds. Be a moron, not even close. Deer goes full speed through our camp, crazy coyote runs back into the morning fog. No idea what it was honestly, pick related, taken in South Texas near Laredo.
Gotta give some context for this story. Used to live out in rural Missouri, about 30 or 40 miles west of St. Louis. Every night around 10 or 11 p.m. every night, a Chinook helicopter would fly over the area, including my house, heading west, probably heading towards the Missouri Army National Guard base in Jefferson City or Fort Leonard Wood, which are 60 and 95 miles from where it passes over my house. Happened every night, so I was just kinda used to it flying over, tried taking pictures of it a few times. 2017. Playing Fallout 4, just hit 3 a.m. While playing, hear the helicopter pass over. Don't think too much of it. Around 5 minutes pass. I hear the helicopter fly back over. Immediately where to me. Never flown over twice in one night. Look out the window. The helicopter is flying much lower to the ground. It's got its spotlight on looking in the field of my neighbor's property. Cattle farmer with a lot of land. Circles around my property and neighbor's property. Shines the light in a bunch of trees in the area. Few minutes pass and it takes off back west. Start thinking what could they possibly be looking for out here. Another 5 minutes pass of nothing. Few minutes later it flies back over. Same thing, hovering low, spotlight on. Afraid to stand near the window because they definitely have infrared. Fully expecting a hail of bullets to gun me down from a machine gun if it get too close. Even more terrified of what could be out there that they're looking for. Helicopter hovering around looking for another 10 minutes. Flies off west again. Comes back 5 minutes later again. This time it's got its searchlight on my house and property. Looking all in the trees and around tall grass. I stand right next to the window to try to see where the helicopter is. The spotlight shines directly on me through the window. I freeze. Right after, helicopter turns around and flies back west and didn't come back for the night. Got a few more shorter stories. Pick is related to the helicopter.
25 to 30 years ago. My parents went to a party with various friends. The party was somewhere in the countryside, UK. Very few, long narrow roads, huge empty fields and some forest dotted around here and there. Unfortunately for my dad, he was the designated driver of the night, no drinking for him. Parents decide to leave the party sometime around 1 a.m. and offer to take the other 2 friends home on the way back. Full car. Driving down country roads, no light pollution anywhere, so it's dead black everywhere they look. All of them were drunk except my dad. There's something in the field up ahead. They slow down and see a woman walking in the field for absolutely no reason at all. Pitch black, middle of the night, nothing around, all by herself. She doesn't look at the car or anything, just keeps walking. Everyone in the car is concerned that it might be an old lady and is probably confused and lost, trying to get home. Dad stops the car. Dad and his friend Greg step out and walk to the edge of the field. Woman quickly sinks into the floor. Oh great, she fell over. Dad gets his industrial flashlight from the boot of the car trunk. Dad and Greg run to where they last saw her. Just grass. No hole. No pond. No trees. Grass. They walk around in the field for about 10 minutes looking for this lady, and there's absolutely nowhere she could have gone. They get in the car, everyone is confused and feeling spooked. Dad reports it when he gets home.
Be my grandpa, mid to late 1970s, delivering oil to gas stations in nearby towns. Returning trip, somewhere around 12 to 2 a.m. No one on the road, just him in his truck. He looks at the moon for a brief moment, sees something on the corner of his eyes, hit the brakes as hard as he could. Rural area, so it had to be a stupid-ass cattle. There was no cow. Tall 9 feet 10. 3 meters tall man looking at him dead in the eye in the middle of the road. Was all alone wearing a brownish suit and a hat. Skin not pale but ghostly white. Both keep staring at each other for another 10 seconds. Man looks at the other side of the road and continues walking. Get lost in the dark. Grandpa continues driving scared shitless. This one always stuck with me. My grandpa was a truck driver and an avid believer of aliens and conspiracy theories. Never got the chance to meet him because he died a year before I was born. But both my mom and grandma assured me this tale was very real and that he always talked about it given the chance.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more green texts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.
Remember to check out the Odyssey page in the description for a second archive of the channel's videos.